Welcome to an abbreviated episode of Why Wait Till Sunday. This is going to be a special edition, a segment I am going to call 3 and Out. And it's going to start as a segment here on Why Wait Till Sunday, but, maybe it'll develop into its own thing. I am not sure, but, the content has to roll on, and this was an idea I had, and we're going to just roll with it. So the idea is 3 and Out. It's 3 topics, quick hitters that have been rolling around in my noggin. I want to share with you. They're probably not fully formed thoughts, all completely things that maybe don't require a full podcast or a full article, but news and notes, things I've seen, things I'm thinking about, strategy I'm considering, anything really. It's a grab bag, but we're going to keep it to 3 things. We're going to be really quick, 15 minutes in, and then we're out. So let's start with 3 and Out. Number 1 on the list is I saw that Sam Neuer transferred from Colorado. He will not be there after off-season shoulder surgery. And that paired with the fact that Tyler Little has also transferred and gone to UMass leaves 2 quarterbacks pretty much on the roster fighting for that starting spot. One is JT Shrout. He is the transfer from Tennessee. This is a guy who couldn't beat out the absolutely atrocious Jarek Arntano in Knoxville. I cannot imagine he is someone they want to roll out there. And after that, it's Brendan Lewis. This is the true freshman last year. He is entering, I believe it's going to be redshirt freshman because he only played 1 game. He definitely got into the bowl game. I went back and took a look at the Alamo Bowl with his snaps. I looked at his high school tape as well. He is an interesting athlete, to say the least. He really does look like a legit playmaker with his legs. You love to see that at the quarterback position. Dangerous in the open field, has true dual threat capability. Even in the bowl game, they were drawing up designed runs for him in high school, put some pretty nice runs on tape, breaking tackles even, and with, good, not great speed. He's not Michael Vick out there, but good speed, can be dangerous. In the bowl game, he had, I believe it was 94 yards and a short yardage touchdown as well. Most of that coming on one really big run. Sorry, it was 73 yards in the bowl game, but still, I like him on the college side. Looking at him, the arm does not look next level, even in the bowl game. In fact, he completed 2 passes that, he completed 1 of 2 long passes, basically looked like punts. The other one was an incomplete, drew a PI call, which, worked out for the Buffs, but he took through 2 long shots and they just kind of came out of his arm like a rocket ship in a bad way. Like an actual space shuttle going straight up into the air and taking, like, basically playing 500 out there. So I didn't see drive in his passes. So that's concerning in terms of projecting all the way to the next level. But I think he could be productive in college for the Buffaloes next year, and certainly that dual threat is really what you want. And frankly, maybe my eval is wrong, and he develops arm strength, develops a better throwing mechanics, and kind of reinvents himself and keeps those legs under him, which is very nice, especially for our fantasy game. So, I'm interested at, just considering the fact his ADP is nothing. I mean, he's not even ranked on our campus2canton.com website. We rank 100 quarterbacks. He is not even ranked. He is also not in the ADP database, and these are 15 to 20 round mock drafts that all have gone into the database. He's a completely, I guess only now we can kind of start thinking about him as a starter. But I love dual threat quarterbacks, especially for fantasy. And if he's going to start, I have no problem, taking a swing on Brandon Lewis late in your C2C drafts, and probably late in your college fantasy drafts. Anything where a college player can put stats on the table for you, I think he's definitely somebody you want to consider. I, at this point, would not have any any dreams of the next NFL star, but he's a starting quarterback that gets plays with his legs, in a major conference. Anything can happen kind of on that, from that perspective. But, worth keeping an eye on. Brandon Lewis for Colorado, kind of a newly minted starter in my book. He played about a half in the bowl game, looked pretty good, led a couple scoring drives on a otherwise abysmal performance by Colorado. I don't think JT Shrout's a threat to literally anybody at the FBS Power 5 level. So I think it's Brandon Lewis. Next on the list, Darwin Barlow transferred out of TCU. Boy, oh boy, that means even more wheels up for Zach Evans. It was a little bit of a three-headed monster last year at Texas Christian. I'm sure they're still going to mix in a bunch of their running backs. They really pride themselves on, having all these running backs and divvying up the carries and having like five guys. There's a poster, I think, a promotional poster for the Horned Frogs. It's got like Dugan and four of their running backs, and it's like led the Big 12 in rushing. So it definitely excites them and the fan base, the fact that they can just run the ball for days. But one of those guys said, not me, and he's out. So Darwin Barlow, I know he's got some fans. Our colleague at Campus to Canton, Felix Sharp, kind of likes Darwin Barlow, and he may be a fine player, but he's no Zach Evans. Zach Evans is great. He's got long speed. We've talked about Zach Evans on here before. I think we're going to see a breakout, and this just clears the way a little bit more for Zach Evans to do his thing, to get even more carries. And, if Texas Christian wants to win, I think it's Zach Evans. There are a couple other guys on the depth chart to take these 82 touches that Darwin Barlow leaves behind. There's Imari DiMaccardo. He's a redshirt senior. I think he's a guy who plays football for Texas Christian. And then there's Kendre Miller, who's a sophomore converted high school linebacker who actually had pretty good efficiency in a yards per carry point of view last year, but, was like fourth or fifth on the team in carries, and they're still there. But, interesting, Barlow was the leading rusher behind Dugan. He gets all the carries, Max Dugan does, as their dual threat quarterback. But Barlow was the leading rusher in terms of carries. And so it's kind of interesting that he must see the writing on the wall, which kind of tells me, Evans was going to be the guy. I really do not think these other characters are going to be the guy. So I think Barlow saw the fact that he was not going to get, the same amount of usage that he did the year before and said, all right, I'm out. Could be other things, of course, but I think that makes some pretty good sense that that's what happened. And I just think it means Zach Evans continues to be a value. I mean, he's going after guys like Kendall Milton. He's going after guys like, I've seen him after Jace McClellan, two guys at absolute blue chip schools, but who have questionable usage coming into their second year, not guaranteed starters in their second year, which means they're going to have just 1 year as juniors to make a mark, hopefully go to the next level after one big year. Of course, that can happen. But we've also seen guys want to put another year on the books. Maybe they're getting interesting feedback from the NFL, like Najee Harris, who came back senior year. And there are some people that don't care at all. They love it. They say, Najee Harris, put it on tape. He is what he is. He's great. I don't love running backs that stay 4 years. It's not even an age thing. It's an age thing indirectly. It's not that, he's 22 going to the NFL instead of 21. It's just that the NFL wasn't impressed enough as a junior for him to be coming out and drafted. Whereas then you have J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers coming out. They're getting drafted. They're getting reps and, learning the speed of the NFL game already after only 3 years in college. I just think you're a better athlete. I think you're a better, more impressive specimen for the NFL to say, come out, we're going to draft you relatively high, at that level. So, yeah, I would take Zach Evans over Kendall Milton and Jace McClellan right now. He's, I think he's sitting kind of right. He's neck and neck with like Kevin Harris for me, both of them after the big known commodities at running back, which are, you've got Bijan, you've got Hall and Spiller, the two great running backs in the 2022 class. You've got Tank, Jahmyr Gibbs. Then I slot Trevion Henderson right under that at 6. And, then it's like Zach Evans, Kevin Harris tier. And then you start getting into these guys you're going to have to wait a year or two, Milton and Jace McClellan, and hope that nobody leapfrogs them on the depth chart as juniors and they bust out. It's just a little more uncertainty for those guys. It is what it is. You go to these loaded depth charts. I think it provides some uncertainty on my end, and I don't love it. I don't love that guys are not coming in and getting the work and dominating, right away. You can go to a big time Power 5 school like Bijan Robinson did and still be awesome as a freshman and go to the NFL. Why do you have to go to Bama and sit for 3 years so we don't even know what we have in our hands? So anyway, well, that's neither here nor there. But Zach Evans, I think, absolutely wheels up now. It's just one less guy to compete with touches. And I don't think he was going to struggle too much anyway. I think the transfer shows that was probably a correct assumption. And finally, is it time for me to accept Hendon Hooker's candidacy for the QB1 in Tennessee? Now, this is a very coveted spot, in my opinion, because of what Josh Heupel is going to bring to Tennessee's offense. He runs an absolutely ridiculous, basically 4 verts, throw it deep offense that has been successful, at least early on in his tenures, early on at Missouri when he was the OC, early on at UCF, and really all of it in UCF, but that's a totally different ballgame in the AAC compared to the SEC. But he was successful early on at Missouri, and that leapfrogged him into a head coaching job elsewhere. He made Drew Lock a second round pick with his 1 year of chucking it deep, and we saw that didn't mean much for Drew Lock after that. But Drew Lock had a fantastic season, especially talking about fantasy college fantasy relevance for that 1 year. So is it going to be Hooker? I mean, I keep thinking about this all the time, and I just thought it was going to be Harrison Bailey, but the news is so bizarre out of Knoxville. They are not giving Bailey the job. It's just obvious. They're not. I talked about it in another episode recently. So that means we got to really think about Hendon Hooker. So I went back and looked. I watched a couple Virginia Tech games. I was hoping to see like a better passer because he was 65% completion. He had 9 yards per attempt. You kind of like those numbers a lot. It's his balls that he throws are ugly. They're wobbling all over the place. They're kind of knuckleballs. Very often they're just meh passes. I don't see him driving the ball. None of them are, he's not looking like he's throwing darts out there to me at all. But he is a very impressive and dynamic runner. Very, very good on the ground, which if you just read the box score, because he's running for 200 yards in some games and throwing, for 150 on 10 attempts. So you could kind of guess that, but his efficiency as a quarterback was pretty good. 65% completion, 9 yards per attempt. I like that. In practice, there's not much there, but it's this Heupel offense. I mean, if they're going to let him basically drop back and chuck it deep or run the ball for fantasy, that's great. I like that a lot. So whoever is going to be the starting quarterback for Tennessee, we have to take seriously in our college side for Campus to Canton. And so, yeah, I think that is we got to take him seriously, and that's where I am now, really thinking about Hendon Hooker, and got some startups coming up on the college side. I'm interested. He could be dynamic, absolutely dynamic as a quarterback in that system. For Tennessee, like I said, the arm doesn't quite look there. I'm not sure he's an NFL quarterback, so he's not going to be high. I wouldn't spend any kind of premium draft capital on him. But for sure, interesting if he's going to run the ball like he does and then get some deep shots, in that Heupel offense. I'm kind of interested there. Could be really big in terms of just raw stats. Even if efficiency may not, I don't know if that's going to be there. So in the end, we've got guys on your college side that I think are values, two of which are basically not even official starters at the quarterback position. Brendan Lewis, also, if Colorado's on an early DFS slate, I would roll the dice on him, possibly given a matchup. He will be completely unrostered, and you get a rushing quarterback that, if it's a good matchup on the slate that Colorado shows up, I'm interested there. So definitely keep that in mind. Zach Evans, all formats, I'm in, and I think he'll be even kind of under rostered in DFS early in the season before he pops, because people are, think that backfield's muddled. He wasn't, quote unquote, the official starter last year. I think he'd be fairly good value relative to the field there early in the season. And then Hendon Hooker, again, a college side value in your C2C drafts. I think if he wins the job, which it's just kind of looking like that to me, reading the tea leaves. And then also, again, I'll roll out a lot of that. I'll do a Tennessee stack week 1. I don't care if they're on the slate, because that offense has just historically been really good for stats, for pure stats. And their defense is going to be absolutely atrocious. So definitely do not forget about Tennessee. I think they're, again, a value both on all facets, because they were so terrible for the last few years. But, jump on them now. Maybe people are just saying, oh, Tennessee's Tennessee. They're terrible. I'm not sure everyone is really realizing what Heupel can do there. I don't know if the actual finished product is going to be excellent or even viable long term, but I think the raw stats will be there, and for fantasy, that's all we care about. So I went over my 5 minutes, but this is 3 and out. I hope you keep tuning in. We're going to keep doing this kind of as a special quick hitting version of Why Wait Till Sunday. We're still going to be doing the interviews coming up. Got some people lined up. We're still going to be doing DFS content, going to hit that hard in season. Don't forget to check out campus2canton.com, our mothership, where all these podcasts are housed, and we have all sorts of other stuff, tons and tons of rankings. I was mentioning 100 quarterbacks on the college side deep. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got amazing data apps done by Jarek Backus. We've got incredibly data visualization. You can compare players across time and, in space. It is anything you need for anything college fantasy football. And of course, we also cater to the NFL side, because C2C, you have to worry about both. It's anything you want. The Discord's popping. We've got 2022 freshmen profiles and kind of notes being shared in the Discord on that right now. So get a leg up on rising seniors in high school. That's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.